Well, welcome to the Dallas Film Commission podcast. My name is Tony Armour. I am the Dallas Film Commissioner. Excited to have some great local filmmakers with us today. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself.
My name is Kelsie.
I'm Brey Browne, and we are with Something from Nothing Productions.
Okay, great.
Yep.
That was a very brief and to the point introduction. So Something from Nothing Productions. Now, were you guys based Fort Worth area?
We are.
Yeah? Okay, so you had to make the little drive up to
Dallas
today.
leave time for that fun traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for doing that. Well, first off, I guess just tell me a little bit about the two of you, and you're married. Yes?
That's right.
Yeah, and so you're a husband and wife production team.
We are.
How does that work? Is that
Sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Kelsie and I actually met on the set of Cruel Summer, which was shot here in Dallas, four years ago?
3
years ago.
Part of 2020. Yeah, I guess it has been 4 years
So,
almost. Yeah,
Kelsie and I, we both have been working in the industry for, over a decade or so, but somehow never, crossed paths somehow, even though we knew every single person. We had so many mutual friends in the industry. It was ridiculous. But when we finally met on Cruel Summer, we just kind of all you could ever really see were each other's eyes.
Oh,
so
it was 2020. It was the pandemic.
Yeah, of course. Everybody was still masking.
Right. So we were just seeing eyes from across set, and we were just both kind of noticing each other.
You're like, I really like those eyes.
I was like, I like those green eyes. That's right. That's exactly what happened.
So from that, we literally as soon as we worked together on that show, it was one job after the other. We worked on, I think, a series of 5-10 commercials in a row, where it was just we were either PAing together or working art department or in some position where we were always working together. And the more of those jobs that we were on, we were like, okay, I think, at least for me, I was like, this might be my person.
Yeah.
And I was always hoping somewhere that I was going to meet my wife on set, and I guess it worked out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, and so 2020, so I was in Florida at that time, and I'm assuming Texas was pretty similar to Florida, that it was open, no mask, except for because of SAG rules. When you were working on a shoot, you had to wear a mask. So was the rest of Texas just so that when you walked away from set, you could be like, hey, this is what I look like?
Well, sort of. I mean, for Cruel Summer specifically, we were testing 3 days a week, something like that. And you had to leave it on at all times, other than at lunch. And at lunch, it was 2 people on the ends of 6-foot tables eating together. So that was the only time you'd see each other, your actual face. And I would say commercials were a little more lax about things, but it was very much still when you're on set, you have a mask on, especially for commercials. A lot of times we were working with NFL players, and they didn't want to get sick, of course. Yeah.
That was crazy. One of the commercials Kelsie and I worked on before we officially started dating, it was it the Head and Shoulders commercial?
Yeah.
It was so it was Patrick Mahomes, and it was
Troy Polamalu.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So this shoot was insane, just for a lot of reasons, but we had to shoot, I think, in 3 different locations over the course of one day. Last location being this random warehouse where we had to build, I think, 4 or 5 different sets. There was the front of an airplane, there was a dentist office, and they were basically just trying to get it all done, out of the way. But at the beginning of the day, we shot it at Kroger. So Mahomes and Polamalu were in a Kroger, and naturally you start seeing a crowd circle around it.
Yeah.
So when we finish that and we get to this warehouse to start shooting, we start noticing cars just kind of, they had followed us from Kroger, all the way
That's
there.
So funny.
And people were just walking on set. I'm like, this is not right. Can we have security?
They just walked in. Yeah, we were wrapping up. We were art department on this.
Okay, I was going to ask
particular job. We were art department and building. I think we had 9 sets in one day.
Yeah,
it was pretty wild.
That's a lot to build in.
It was a lot. It was a lot to set dress in one day, but we made it happen. It was really fun.
It happen.
But
somehow you do.
Yeah, they were all just walking in at the end of when we were wrapping up. It was hilarious, and they'd come it's kind of when you're on set, you're not super paying attention to everyone walking in and out. And at one point, I walked by, I'm like, that is a whole family, with children, with their memorabilia, with the Sharpie. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Yeah.
And what were you guys doing on Cruel Summer? What were your crew positions there?
I was working in the AD department, and
I was day playing as a set dresser.
Okay,
so our department still.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was only on Cruel Summer for I think a week, maybe 2 weeks at most, and Kelsie was there for the run of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did the whole season here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
First season.
How many episodes was that?
I think it was 10.
10 episodes.
I'm wrong. My bad, guys.
Yeah.
But I think it was 10. It took us about 6 months.
Yeah.
So that seems right. 10.
Yeah, I know that they shot locally just because I've so Southside Studios, a lot of them shot over at Southside, and really excited for that whole renovation to get done over
excited.
there.
I have so many memories there. I worked on Queen of the South here too, and that was our home base. And it's nice to see it getting the revamp it deserves.
Yeah, it's just dirty old warehouse space. That it's going to actually be a studio.
Yeah, it was great for Queen of the South, honestly. Sure. Yeah, it was perfect location for that.
That back 4 stories still has all of like the graffiti and everything inside on that because there's no reason to like paint it or cover it up.
Right.
Like, why? So it's all still there.
I'm eager to see if they're going to put either like a giant cement wall or what soundproofing they have for the train. Because that's like
the soundproofing is one of the most expensive aspects of that remodel. That and the 2 new roofs that have to go on the building. So
I'm sure.
That and the AC, and I mean it's not cheap. Like it's obviously millions of dollars that's being spent over there. But they started the beginning of April. And so it's been a couple of months that they've been working away on that. And then the storm this past week or whatever caused some damage. That is a little bit of a setback, but just clean up stuff. But once they get through all that, it's really like November that we're looking at as far as that being complete.
That's great. That's exciting. I can't wait to see it.
That's like right around the corner.
Yeah, no, it should be pretty quick. We'll do like a big open house in December, like a huge party kind of thing for everybody to come out and just show up and see what it looks like. And
that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So besides working on other projects for other people and commercials and things like that, you have your own production company.
That's right.
So what sort of stuff are you doing, with on your own?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So I'll give some context of how we got here, if that's fine. So essentially, I was working for a while for EarthX, the nonprofit here in Dallas. I was the creative director for the film festival and also just the overall organization. And during my time there, I was hiring Brey a lot to help me, because he does a lot of post-production and editing work. I was hiring him to help me create promos and campaigns and sort of just all sorts of various things, whether it was for social or just to promote an event we had coming up. And that was really our first time kind of making things the 2 of us, right? Not for someone else.
Right.
Technically, it was for someone else, but it was he and I collaborating, making this come to life. And we realized, whoa, like we have some pretty good working synergy. Like we knew that from working on set.
This is before you got married?
We were together, but before we were married.
Right.
And it was
very convenient. It's like, I need to hire someone.
I know, I'm like,
this guy.
And you're in the same house as me, so let's do this. Yeah, but it was great because he's been an editor for many years. And so it worked out awesome. And we did a lot of graphic design and video. So we did that for about 2 years where I was hiring him randomly, on a contractor basis to help me with these things. And that's kind of what started the idea is eventually maybe we'll start our own company.
Right.
It was always like hey, maybe someday we'll do this type of thing. And last fall, my son plays football, which is a big deal around here. He's only 11.
Really? Texas football?
Yeah, so it's a big deal. Some people don't know that. No, they do know. But, the show Friday Night Lights shows obviously high school, but he was still peewee football, 11 years old and in 5th grade. And we thought, okay, well, at this age, it's really taught by, or like the coaches or like the parents. They're volunteers. And so a lot of times, unless you're a coach, your kid isn't really going to get to play that much. Like that's just how it is. Like they'll get to play, but they're going to start their kids naturally at that age. And so my son, this was his 3rd year to play. And basically we're like, okay, he got on as a starter.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, that's awesome. Let's just get some awesome footage of him. We have the gear.
Right.
And that was really all we planned to do. And so we started that whole process back in August of last year. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was August. It was August. And so August of last year, we're just kind of filming some practices, asked the coach if that was okay. And the parents are like, sure. We filmed a couple games. And then we got to know the coaches of this particular team. And we started kind of listening in a little bit more to what they were saying. And are like, hey, we might have a doc or like something, or maybe a highlight reel. I'm not really sure. And so we just, as we kind of progressed over, I want to say it was like by like game 4, we were like, we need better lenses. We need better gear. And
time to get some interviews.
That's right. Yeah. Get some interviews. And of course, with 11, 12-year-old boys, you're going to get like, yeah, cool, awesome. So it really became more about the coaches and why they do this, for no money. Most of them there's pilots, some of them work in like banking, and one's a lawyer. Like they have all these like very like kind of intense jobs, but they still give 4 nights of their week to these boys. And anyway, that was kind of a long ramble, but to get to the point, after we filmed this together, it was like, hey, maybe instead of someday, we just do it now.
Right.
And so making this film with literally no resources whatsoever, no funding. We did not do, an impact deck or a pitch deck or like try to get.
Well, it was just the two of you and you got the gear. So why not just shoot it?
That's right. Yeah. And it was just like, instead of waiting for the perfect budget and the perfect thing to make a film, let's just do it now. Yep. And so we did. We put it together and we premiered at DIF this year in April. And it was so much fun. We did not ever expect it to go really anywhere. It was more for us and the boys, but because everyone received it so well, we decided to go for DIF, and it was really, really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I completely understand that. Growing up in Ohio, I either wanted to be a filmmaker or a college football coach. Those were my two goals. Right?
Yeah.
And at 5'10" and 165, even though I did walk on in college, that just didn't work out that way. But I have friends who coached that same age range for 20 years, and then other jobs, and that's what they've done. And so I know that if I would have stayed in Ohio, since all my friends are doing it, that's what I would have ended up doing too, is working something, but then coaching, kids at that same age. So I completely identify with what you guys did there. That was my, my kind of life growing up too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was obviously a very different type of project because it was just us two, and we just kind of had to get audio from far away and not really be a distraction. You can't really put a mic on a 10-year-old boy doing tackles. So it's like, and another choice we made was making sure that everyone was heard at least once in the film.
Sure.
And so sometimes we'd be like in a windy field using camera audio, which wasn't ideal, but it still came together. And
because you didn't want any of the kids to feel left out.
No, not at
all. Exactly. And especially at that age, it's so important for them to all feel included.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a lot of fun. I was wondering how I was going to get to that point of asking how that film came about, but that was a perfect, kind of line of questioning or segue into what made that happen. Now, did you, Brey, play football growing up as well? I mean,
no, I actually didn't.
Okay, I was going to say you live in Texas, so
no, my mom was too afraid of me getting hurt for me to play football.
It's true.
Oh yeah, but my excuse is always that the football helmet would never fit my head, so I just went with that. No, I never played, but watching our son play. So I'm the bonus dad, and getting to watch him play football for like 3 years leading up to this. Like it gave me a really new perspective of like how important, how formative that sport is for boys at that age. And especially this year that we filmed, like hearing what the coaches had to say to these boys and seeing these boys work together as a team and like lift each other up. I'm like, God, like I really feel like I missed out here. But like, I guess, I can capture it. I mean, that's the one thing I can do to kind of like relive this with him. And it was, I feel like I get to live vicariously through him in this season and his teammates. And, it was pretty cool. It was also cool that we got, what'd you say? We got most of the team to come out to DIF, right? To the screening?
It's like a little over half.
Yeah. Well, and we haven't even said the name of the film yet. The name of the film is Bearcats.
Oh, yes. Bearcats, We're Still Here is the full name.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about where, what the team is, where they play and everything. I know it says it in the intro to the film, but we might as well tell the audience.
That's right. Yeah. So the film takes place in a little town called Aledo, which is west of Fort Worth. Very small town, but known for football. I mean, the high school has won the state championship for the last 12 years.
Oh, cool. Like every year for
12 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a huge deal in that town in general.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to watch it from this perspective at such a young age, how they really do start with a lot of heart. I mean, and there's so many kids, for fifth grade, Aledo had 5 teams. Which is a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. So, and there was only 11 teams total in the what is it called? I can't even think of what it's called.
North Central Texas Pee Wee.
And this is like and all these kids feed into the same high school?
That's right.
That makes sense. How big is the high school, do you know?
I think it's 5A now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the Texas setup too much. Does it like 1 to 6? Is it 1 highest, 6 highest, 6 lowest?
6 highest, 1's lowest. Yeah.
6 highest, 1's lowest. Okay. Because it's the flip in Ohio. Division 1 is the highest, and then you go down to the lower numbers. So, okay. So 5A. So they're close to the top level for the state of Texas.
Yeah. And it's growing a lot, obviously, with 5 fifth grade teams. Now, of course, some of those kids will, I'm sure, fall off once they start getting into middle school and high school. They decide which sport they want to kind of stick with. But it's a big deal. It's really fun. My dad played football, but my dad had 3 daughters. So, he didn't really exactly get to have a son go through everything. But thankfully, he kind of passed it on to my son. And it's just been really fun to watch that whole dynamic come together, too.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like your son is going to stick with this up to high school kind of thing?
I think so. Yeah. He really loves it. I mean, he loves sports in general, but football is what he loves the most.
What position does he play?
He was tight end and defensive end this last year. So at this age, they kind of move around.
Yeah, of course. that can change a lot once you never know where the growth spurt's coming from, what size they're going to end up being.
He's pretty big. He's really tall and strong, so he makes for a great tight end, honestly. But I don't know if that's what he'll keep doing.
I think he keeps talking about. He's like, I want to be a wide receiver. Just passing the ball. I could be QB.
Yeah, he's kind of all over the place. Yeah, he's currently doing summer track, which is really fun for us as parents. To be better for football is his whole mindset.
No, hey, I ran track to be better for football.
We'll see. He's onto something then. So there you go.
Good. Well, that's fun. I know this is supposed to be a film podcast, but we could just talk football the whole time.
I'm like, that's true. I was about to say the same thing. I'm like, we could talk about this all day.
But this is Texas, and Dallas. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's basically a religion here. Like,
absolutely. I think it's interesting, like in different areas around the country. So I grew up in Ohio, which is football crazy.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Florida, which has a huge, kind of football following there. And then now I'm, obviously working here in Texas. And so I just seem to be following the football states. I don't know if there's anywhere else left that I can go in the country that has, sort of the football as religion. But Texas even more so than I think, more than Florida. Florida's a weird place because you can get distracted by a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You've got the beaches and just so much other stuff going on. And not that there's not other things in Texas, but,
Right.
There's not. I'm kidding.
Yeah, okay, good.
There's film. There's film. We can talk about that.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
True.
Well, and so how did you both start in the industry? Did you go to school for film? Like, where'd you go to school? What were the plans? Like, how did you guys end up here?
We have very different answers for this. I'll let Brey go first, and then I'll go.
Sure.
I started making videos or doing theater, being any type of entertainment, like it's pretty much as long as I can remember, probably early as I can think was like high school. So like my high school did like video announcements and they sit in front of a green screen today on blah, 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 blah. So when I was there, I was like, okay, that's cool. But what if we did like a 7-part miniseries where we get the vice principals to like walk around the school and there's like a whole under narrative. So I made that with a friend from high school named Bryce Seifert, and it was ridiculous. Like our whole senior year we spent doing that. And then I went to college down in South Texas. It was originally University of Texas Pan American, but it's now UT RGV, like Rio Grande Valley, kind of down Brownsville.
RGV?
RGV, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's changed from UTPA to UT RGV. So I went there originally for acting, and then that evolved into like TV and theater, because down there they actually split it. It's like half TV and half theater, which like in theory, it sounds like it would work, but I think it kind of like leaned more towards theater sometimes, which I didn't mind either. I like that too. But the more time I was down there, I started to get involved with like the few commercials and stuff, and like few productions down there. And that's where I really started to like kind of learn everything behind the scenes. I'm like, oh, I don't just like acting. I just like all of this. Yeah. I like being behind the camera, in front of the camera, whatever it means. Like I just like creating stuff in this medium. So when I was in college, a group of friends and we kind of started like our own little production company and made a bunch of short films, did a few festival runs with things. I think we made probably 10 or 12 short films, like a TV pilot, miniseries, just like ran the gamut of it. And then from that, I moved up to Dallas because I had some friends up here who are already in the industry and they got me in.
Now, where did you grow up at?
So I grew up in Austin, but I'm originally from South Texas, where I went to college from. So South Texas, grew up, graduated high school in Dripping Springs, which is right outside of Austin, and then back to South Texas for college, and then up here to Dallas for the last since 2017.
Okay.
So, so yeah, just been working up here. I got lucky enough to get on one commercial. I think it was for a video game, if I remember correctly. And I remember when I got up here, and I started PAing, you just kind of take whatever job.
Of course.
And you just say like...
Yes, I can do that.
I remember the first job, they were like, do you know how to drive like a box truck? Like we have like a 16-foot box truck. I'm like, I absolutely know how to drive a box truck. And I'd never driven a box truck.
I think that is 99% of the stories I've heard from people starting in the industry. Is if someone asks you if you do something, you just say yes.
That's right.
And they'd be like, now I'm figuring it out.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's the perfect segue into my story, actually. So I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was a still photographer. I say that. I was literally a teenager when I got into it, and I was lucky enough to have a friend that was in a band, and he would let me like come to his shows and take photos of him and like give me, merch t-shirts.
I would let
whatever.
you take photos of me.
Yeah. Like, here, I'll give you passes, a press pass, and like you take the pictures and we'll give you some free merch and like you can use it for your portfolio or whatever. I'm like, great, let's go. And so I kind of got into it that way. And then I eventually started shooting weddings at 15, which is nuts. I would never recommend a 15-year-old to shoot a wedding, but for some reason, people trusted me. And I quickly realized I didn't like that.
Weddings are awful.
They're terrible. And brides never like how they look. No. And it's probably even worse now, I would imagine, in the social media days, because that didn't exist back then other than MySpace.
Yeah.
So, it's just a totally different world, but similar. And so I actually went to school. I was planning to be a nurse, funny enough. And fast forward, I decided I didn't want to do that. After becoming a mom, for some reason, something shifted in me. And I knew that I was sort of missing out on some form of creativity. I just didn't know what it was. And at the time, I was going through a divorce and I had 2 young kiddos. And I heard an ad for something. I can't remember exactly what job it was now, but it was a pilot shooting here and they needed extras, and it was Legacy Casting. Shout out Andre.
Right.
And I heard that they were needing extras, and I'm like, I could do that. Like, sure.
I can stand around.
I can stand around and be in the background and maybe I'll make some friends and like, I don't know. And so my very first day there, I'm not kidding, I'd been there for maybe an hour and a half. Someone comes in kind of frantic that a PA didn't show up. And they're like, hey, is anyone here, PA? And I kind of looked around and I'm like, me? And I literally Googled what a PA was real quick.
Yeah.
And I jumped in and I'm like, oh, I got this. I'm a mom and I'd been a gymnastics coach. I was like, I can wrangle people, no big deal. And I was wrangling background. So it was like super fun. And I picked it up pretty quick, not to say that it's super easy, because it was a lot of hard work.
No, but it depends what PA is. Like starting out as a PA, you don't have to do anything anyways.
That's right.
You're either getting coffee or just take this here, carry this there.
And we were just...
stand there and make sure somebody doesn't walk through
100%. And we were getting background ready.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got this. No big deal. Yeah, I got them. And so I was getting them ready and getting them through the works and, pretending I knew what anyone was talking about on the radio. I'm like, yeah, copy that. I'm on my way. Coming to you. I was just copying the stuff I was hearing in the radio. And from that, I was like, well, that was pretty fun, I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but it was fun. I'm like, that was a long day. That sure wasn't a lot of pay, but that was a long day.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, something in me was like, maybe I am meant to do something like this. I don't know. But, I never knew. They didn't know me. I didn't know if they'd ever call me again.
Right.
Well, from that job, turned into another job, turned into another job, turned into another job. And before I knew it, I was on pretty much all the big shows that would come through town. I worked whether it was a PA, I worked as a stand-in on Queen of the South when it was here for the first 3 seasons. And I would say that show is what taught me everything that I know. And
sure, if you did 3 seasons of a show, that's a lot of work. 3 seasons,
same crew pretty much. Yeah. So I was a sponge. Like, I was willing to learn, and thankfully people were willing to teach me. I was a stand-in for the lead. She played Camilla on the show. Her name's Veronica Falcone, and I'll always give her props because she was so gracious to me with her time and willing to teach me. And most people who are stand-in want to be an actor, most of the time. And there was a part of me that thought maybe that's what I would do for a while, but I really fell in love with the behind the scenes stuff. And as I was standing in, I would just watch the crew and kind of see what they're doing, especially the first season, because I was still learning at the time. And I was like, man, this is amazing. Everyone just knows exactly where they need to go. But the reason they knew where to go is because ADs, they had producers, they had all these people. And so eventually I transitioned into where I was doing more PA work, and then eventually became an AD and then a coordinator and then production manager and then producer. It was just kind of like a snowball effect, if you will. But because I was willing to say yes to a job that I didn't necessarily know how to do, I thankfully kind of learned on the spot on set. So I had a very different path that led me here, but I feel like my kind of starting out running around backstage at, music festivals or whatever, one crew, one production versus the other, they're pretty similar. So I kind of knew a little bit of the lingo just from that into set, but it was a very different world, as I'm sure you can imagine.
And then being a photographer, you knew how a camera worked, just in general. Not that you were operating camera or anything like that, but knowing that, like you said, being at concerts and music shows and stuff, you got that behind the scenes thing. It kind of gets in your blood a little bit.
It does, and you kind of learn just like, okay, a lot of it's not necessarily fake it till you make it, but a little bit.
Yeah,
or just being willing. If you don't know something, just speak up.
You just ask.
You just ask, because most of the time people are willing to help you out, and I was very fortunate. And that's the thing I love about Dallas specifically, is that the community here is very giving and they want to help you. It never felt like I was in competition with anyone. Of course, there's been some jobs that have been that way, but the majority of the film community that's from here in DFW is so gracious, and they really would just take me under their wing, and they're like, come on, like, this is how it's done. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons that I've said this before, that I took the job in Dallas in the first place, because I'd been here a couple times just to visit, but everybody was so friendly. Like, everyone was just nice and friendly. And I'm like, oh, I could do Dallas, because that's, those are friendly people over there. I could handle that. And I think the film community too, while there might be a lot of people in it, it's not big at all.
Right.
It's very tight net. It's like, kind of, once you get in and you meet a few people, you know everybody.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun thing too. You like see people over the years too, like at various sets, whether it's like a big show that you're working on or a big film that's in town, or even just a commercial for a few days. A lot of time the crew's the same, so it makes you have a lot of good working synergy for sure.
Well, and this area in general is a huge commercial market.
It is.
So you talked about the series that you've been on and everything, but a lot of times those, hopefully now that we have the $200 million in incentives and Taylor Sheridan shooting all his stuff here, that's going to stay more consistent.
Yeah.
But it really is the commercial work that sustains everybody. Talk a little bit then maybe about sort of the commercial industry here and how you've gotten involved in that and how that keeps you guys going, keeps everything going.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, so like Kelsie said, she worked a lot more like narrative TV show stuff, and like I'd done like day playing on shows, and I've done like a couple features, but commercials definitely where I kind of tended to float most of the time. And it is wild just how much stuff actually shoots here, which I never really had like a perception of, like when I was going to college. Like I think everyone's initial perspective of production in the industry is like, you either got to go to LA or like New York.
Right.
You don't realize, like, okay, there's LA, there's New York, there's also Atlanta, and there's also Dallas, and then there's also like I'm blanking on
that other little city small in Texas that starts with an A.
Austin, the one you lived in.
Oh yeah, right. But yeah, Dallas just has a lot of commercial stuff going on. So like I've worked on like the full gamut from like car commercials to a lot of like tabletop stuff. And I'm glad that I got to see like that perspective of things, of like how quickly the turnover is in like these commercials, of how many things are happening, and like the different ways you can like attack, say, like a tabletop commercial, and like how you can shoot those things and how they can.
Will you explain for the audience a tabletop commercial?
Yeah, so a tabletop commercial is like, if you ever see the commercials of like Burger King and they're showing the new burger that's coming out this season, and you see like the buns dropping down and like, shiny pickles and everything.
Slow motion pickles.
Yeah,
Those
so it's
pickles,
all just, you're trying to make that stuff look as pretty as possible. And it's cool, but it's also kind of like sad in a way it's not sad in the sense of like what food stylists can do, because it's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
But then you realize like, oh, we're like painting this food with like chemicals and paint, and like all the ice cream you see on screen, and like the whipped cream is just Barbasol. Oh, sorry. Yeah. They need to be a sponsor, but but it's like shaving cream. And it's just like, you see all these little tricks of how to make things shine and make things like be more, I guess, commercially, right? So,
well, it's going to look a lot different on camera than it does. If you ever see like a local restaurant's food commercial and it's like a shot of their food, it's like washed out. It looks weird, and you're like, oh, I don't want to eat any of that, even though it's not how it probably looks in real life. But they don't know that they should have hired a food stylist.
They don't take the time.
Do all
it
these
shows,
things
for sure. Yeah.
I will say, working commercials also showed me just how many other like odd jobs you can have in production. One specifically. It was a Frito-Lay commercial. It's chips. And I remember this job had hired a chip specialist. And I had never in my life thought like what is that?
Flying in from London. Fly the chip specialist.
Literally flew them in, like I think from LA. It was like a father and son duo, super nice guys.
Yeah.
I think I was a PA on that job, so I was kind of like driving them around and getting to know them a little bit better. But like their job for the entirety of the commercial was they went through hundreds of bags of chips and they'd pull out the most perfect triangular, like
this is a short mockumentary.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's a little short film. This is a 5-minute short mockumentary about the chip specialist.
100%. Like
you can call it the chip specialist.
I'm like, we will shoot this right now.
You open up on like the studio, lights are coming on, like, you know, cracking his neck, drinking his coffee, and then pulls out the tub, and start
everyone running frantically
and it has
behind
to be
him, and like he is just locked in.
The limo pulls up and gets out, and it's, he's here.
And
he's here. The chip
the
specialist
Beyonce
is
hair
here.
is going,
Exactly.
the fans, everything.
He has the silk scarf and everything around his neck. Someone takes the gloves off for him because you don't want to damage the hands.
Thank you. Exactly.
Perfectly manicured nails.
As he opens the bag, starts examining one chip at a time. We just wrote the short.
I honestly, okay, mark it down.
I'm like,
you got to give me a writing. I give a writing credit on
you
this.
got
obviously. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was just like one of the many like crazy jobs you see in the commercial world. But knowing how to shoot and how to produce those things is obviously, I think, so crucial as like any production company, you know. I mean, for us specifically, we kind of run like the full range of things. Like we obviously with Bearcats, it's a documentary, you know, which we still and will continue to love to create documentaries. But like we like making documentaries, narratives, and commercials, and like you need to kind of have like a wide understanding of how all those things work. So I definitely credit my time of working in that many commercials into like what we're bringing into our company today.
Yeah.
And documentaries are a lot of fun. I've made several docs and it's they're challenging, and depending on the length, you know, they can be a lot of fun. Especially, you know, you're shooting your son's football team. So that makes it a little bit more entertaining.
Oh,
you know, depending on what the story is that you're telling.
We have a few others that we, you know, obviously they're just thoughts right now, and they're just ideas, but like one would be a short and the other would be a feature. So it'd be a little bit more time consuming, but what I love about docs is you think you know the story, but you really don't
100%.
Until you're going for it. And coming from the narrative world, it's so different because it was like such, and especially as an AD, it's like everything's a schedule. Like you've got to be
and
here.
I think making documentaries actually makes you a better narrative filmmaker.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you really have to. You're finding a 3-act structure. Like, all right, we've got this stuff. What's the story here? What's the 3-act structure? Because you still have to tell a story in a documentary. It's not just a bunch of random things that you've shot. And how do you make it? You know, with the inciting incident and this and that. You know, all the storytelling points that you need to hit in a typical format. How do you do that in a documentary when you're not writing the script?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty fascinating. It's like you said, like you don't know like these moments until you actually like capture them. Like I'll give an example from Bearcats. There's this scene where one of the coaches, his name's Jim Scott, and like we were saying earlier, you know, we're kind of floating around capturing these moments. And then there was this one practice, I think 2 practices before the Super Bowl. And like Coach Scott starts giving this speech and they're on this field and all we have is like the spotlight coming in like from the left and it's just super contrasting. You see like this nice edge light. I'm like, did someone light this? Like where's did we hire a gaffer, babe? Like what happened? But like you see this moment and like I just roll up there like camera audio and I just stick there. I'm just like, I can't believe like I had never in a million years think that I was going to be capturing a moment like this. But then that piece gets added on into all these other puzzle pieces in post where like you start putting them together and you're like, whoa, like that is not even somewhat what was in my head. Which I think is just so fascinating. It's like with docs, like, you know, narratives, like you write the story and you tell the story that's in your head, and then like we were just saying,
and
like
it still turns out different. Like when you write a narrative as a shooter, it still ends up different. So
it's
imagine
different.
how different a documentary is then.
Yeah, there's that whole saying with narrative. It's like there's the movie that you write, the one you shoot, and then the one you edit, right? And then docs is like it's like the one that you capture and you think is in your head, and then the one that actually like forms together at the end of it. It's just this,
and then it changes again,
and then it changes again, and then like the more you watch it, you're like, whoa, like just all these different avenues and routes that it went that you could just
and sometimes with the documentary as well too, because you don't have necessarily a script and you don't have like a sort of a limit to the footage. You're just shooting stuff and seeing what you got, and you're like, how long could this or should this be? So like Bearcats is like 23 minutes.
That's right.
Something like that. But you're like, is there a longer version here? Is there a shorter version here? You know, there's all those different aspects that are really interesting.
Yeah. We could have like definitely changed a lot of stuff on it, I think, but we would have just continued to get stuck on it. So I'm happy we stuck with what we did. But, like even we've talked like, there's a story here just about Alita football in general. Like it could be a series because even they're starting so young, but going up to high school, like there's so much content.
Into the high school.
There's so much going on, like following them through middle school and high school and like all the different ages there that are just
you're gonna do your Richard Linklater boyhood version,
pretty much of course, pretty much. But kind of circling back to like the commercial side of things, like for me, I love how. Like, especially, I think now, like, we've got social media that we have to think of when creating these spots. Would you agree?
100%.
You have to be able to have something that's going to keep someone's attention for, 4 seconds. Pretty much is
and you're oh, and I have to make this vertical.
And it's the worst.
It is the worst.
It's the worst. Like, that is not how we want to see things. But you also want to keep up with the trends and the times, of course. So we just actually shot a spot for our friends, Production Outfitters. They are a production rental supply company that's based in Fort Worth. They're relatively new. And so we just shot a spot for them that will be for social, but also for their, web use. But of course we had to think, there has to be a vertical version of this too. But we love, like we wrote the spot for them and we shot it, just the two of us again, with their help a little bit, but it was really fun.
Yeah. I've started seeing more on Instagram, people when they're exporting, they're turning the video 90 degrees, and then they've got a little thing that comes up that says rotate your phone to make you turn your phone.
We tried that on one of ours, and it didn't do as well as we thought it would.
People still don't want
to. They're like, no, I will not turn my phone.
It's not that hard.
I can't be bothered.
Just turn the phone.
I know, literally all you got to do is just that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You have to kind of like submit to it a little bit.
Things tend to go, they always kind of come back around.
Yeah,
so I wonder if eventually,
Well, they're going to come out with the new phone will be horizontal.
Yeah, well, and Instagram needs to rotate when you turn the video. Right now they don't.
Yeah.
Come on, Instagram, get it together.
Send them a nicely written letter through the mail.
Yeah, for real. Exactly. They're so hard to get in touch with. Yeah.
And maybe
I have notes.
Please turn this email horizontal.
Yeah, I have notes. No.
Well, what are you guys working on next? So with Bearcats, are you submitting to other film festivals?
A couple more. Yeah, we were pretty selective with the ones we submitted to, just knowing it's a sports short about fifth grade football. Where would that make sense?
Sure.
So we were pretty selective. So we got a few more we're waiting to hear back on. We're industry sponsors of Oak Cliff coming up. Brey also works for Oak Cliff Film Festival.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, it's coming out at the end of June.
We're excited for that.
We are a sponsor as well.
Amazing. Yeah, we're excited to be there and kind of for me, a different way. I'm normally there being supportive as Brey's worked for them for many years, but I'm excited to be there and with a different hat on this year and meet some other people. So that's for sure. That's like in a couple weeks coming up.
Now, are you in the festival? Have they announced films?
We're not in the festival. We're just sponsoring it.
Okay,
we're just going to...
they announced their program, I believe, a week or so ago, which you can find all the information on oakcliffilmfestival.com. They've got the full program and list of different events and links to the Eventive to where you can get.
And we have Ashton coming in next week.
Oh, there you go.
It's going to be pretty
we won't steal Ashton's thunder.
I'll let him plug
promo for the show.
Ashton's one of our dear friends. He was in our wedding.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, we love Ashton.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a couple of other, what are the other festivals you've sent to? Are they Texas based or
some are Texas? One is South Texas International. That's where Brey's from. Yeah. So he's had several films premiere there over the years. I can't remember some of the other ones now. It's all lost on me.
Yeah. So South Texas, I think we're still waiting to hear back from like Lone Star over in Fort Worth.
Right.
A couple of other sports specific ones.
Yeah,
they're just sports film festivals. Yeah. They're like random places, but it's like, hey, this might make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. And then, of course, we have a client of ours is Cook Children's. So we've been working with them to shoot some really cool content. They have an in-house studio within their hospital.
Oh, cool.
Which a lot of people don't know about. It's called the Child Life Zone. It is really special. It's amazing things that they do. I don't know how familiar you are with Cooks since you're still relatively new. So they're kind of like basically like Fort Worth's version of Children's Health, which is here in Dallas. But they are incredible and they do a lot of really amazing things. But they shoot original content for the children of the hospital who can't leave the hospital, and they run 24 hours a day on their channel. So we've been shooting a lot of stuff with them. We're actually shooting a Dallas Jackals game on Sunday.
What are the Jackals? What's
rugby
That's
team?
That's the pro rugby team here in Dallas.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about that. But that game is fun to watch. We filmed their practice. What was that last
Friday.
Last Friday?
Yeah. It's crazy. I'd never watched rugby before at all. So we got to like watch on the field with the professionals.
That's
and
fun.
I'm like, this is intense.
Yeah.
Like you think football's intense? Rugby is next level. They're not even wearing pads. And every time I thought, okay, the play is for sure dead. It would keep going.
It just keeps going.
I'm like, I need to figure out what is going on before this game coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been doing a lot of just random stuff with them. And then I have a short film that I wrote that we're hoping to develop this year.
Nice.
A comedy, a narrative comedy,
good.
completely different from the Bearcats film about a wonderful, incredibly awkward online date that I once had many moons ago.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of the next big thing we're going to start developing. And then, of course, there's a few docs, but I don't know if we should talk about those yet.
It's up to you.
Well, and of course the short mockumentary, The Chip Specialist.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
Our people will reach out to your people.
Okay,
We'll
good.
figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, we are the people.
There's
no one else.
Hi, we're here.
It's
Let's
us.
talk it out.
Hello, we're here.
We can start
and
storyboarding now if
we
you
are
want.
the
That can be the rest of the
people.
podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's exciting though. We're still a relatively new company. We just started in February. So
Okay.
yeah, we're excited to have anything under our belt at this point. But yeah, we've got just kind of like
well, you have so much experience between the two of you just working on other projects. It's a natural fit just to kind of have your own, shingle, so to speak.
Yeah, and we've got incredibly talented friends in the industry that are like kind of part of our roster, if you will, that will be kind of not our only go-tos, of course, but just like a really great roster of people that we collaborate really well with, and we're excited to develop more stuff with them.
Yeah. Any aspirations for sometime down the road, like a feature film? Like at some point, I think growing up, we all watch movies, right? And then you're like, I want to make a movie, but it's really hard.
It is really hard. Yeah. I mean,
there's
truly,
a lot that goes into that.
My biggest dream, honestly, is the short I was just talking to you about. I really feel like could be a series.
Yeah.
That is my like big dream goal for that is just, and it doesn't have to all be written by me. I think it could very naturally be an anthology series. In the world of online dating. So many people have their own version of what my story was, and it's called Should Have Swiped Left.
Should have swiped left. Okay, no, it's fun. I think that's something that festivals will play. All festivals. I don't know if you know or not, but I have a film festival in Florida that I've run we're going to our 20th year now.
Wow, that's
amazing.
And so I've lived in the film festival world for a very long time.
Yeah,
so.
and it coming for, I worked for EarthX too, and obviously we did more like environmental and documentary stuff, but thankfully with that job I get to go to many festivals and watch, and I'm always drawn to shorts. I know that they're not like, of course, how you're going to get rich by any means, but that's not why we're in this industry.
Well, short films are business cards.
They are, I love shorts in this day and age too, because I feel like attention spans are like it's like you got to keep people interested for X amount of time.
The key with the short film is the word short in there.
Keeping it short.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if you are 15 or under is good. If you're literally 10 or under, you will
better.
You will get programmed at so many more film festivals.
Mine's about 9 minutes.
That's good. Yeah. If you're in that 9-minute range, it's so easy for festivals to be like, well, this is 9 minutes. Even if it's good, but not like groundbreaking, the best film ever made, people will still program it because it's 9 minutes. It's good. I like this. We can find space for it.
What I'm excited about for this one in particular is it's just not too serious.
Yeah.
Like it really is just like silly and obnoxious, but kind of just lighthearted and fun. And I think it's something people hopefully will relate to, just the awkwardness of it all. And obviously it's very loosely based on an actual date I went on, but it's of course made up to be a little bit more
I think
dramatic
that
and
kind of thing is always great. I have a friend who has never used dating apps before, and just for the month of May decided he would use dating apps.
Has he already deleted it?
He's stopped. It's June now, so he's like, all right, May was good. I
figured as much.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing anyway. I'm thankful to be out of the dating field now. But
he was like, one month is good, and he already just from 1 month had some fun stories.
I believe it. Yeah, I'd only had, I think I went on maybe 2 or 3, and so from the 2 or 3, I literally wrote a whole short film. So if that tells you anything of how it went for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural content generator.
Oh,
for any type of experience that you have on those. It's always going to be wild in one sense, or another. You're going to say something.
No, other than the fact that I've never been on a dating app I've been in a relationship for a long time.
There you go.
Pre-dating app, so I'm like, that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
You beat it.
I'm like, good for you, honestly.
Yeah. I have a friend who is also he's on like a million different apps, and he has a personality problem, so has a hard time getting dates.
I'm like, same. Thankfully, Brey also has personality problems.
Yes, I do.
I like to live vicariously through him in helping him rewrite his profiles.
Oh, I love that.
I'll be, let me see your profile. And he'll look at it. I was like, no, man, that's terrible.
Like, come on.
You got to change that. I was like, that's your picture?
How many people do you think are using like Chat GPT to write their profiles?
That's what I said to him. I was like, let's
they're doing
use
that now, right?
Let's use Chat GPT and write your profile.
How did it turn out better?
Much better.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
I believe it.
I mean, what a great character writing exercise.
Right.
Like for you as a writer, you're like, okay, let's see, who is he today? He is a weightlifter.
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want.
You can be whoever you want to be with Chat GPT.
It makes it entertaining. Are you guys using it? I mean, it's a tool.
It's a tool.
I use it for, honestly, you know, people talk about, is it going to take jobs away? And it's not. I don't think it's not going to take creative people's jobs. Like, creative people are still going to be creative, and it doesn't really have the ability to be creative. What it has the ability to do is summarize things.
Yeah,
like I can throw a bunch of just junk in it and be like, oh my god, I got to summarize this into like a report or something. Here's a bunch of info. Will you summarize this for me?
Yeah,
and it'll spit it out and organize it nicely, and it just saved me an hour of writing of summarizing something, and then I make a few edits.
Yeah,
you know, I think it's great for things like that, or you know, creating outlines or things like that. But from like a writing or content perspective, it's no matter how good it gets, it's never going to be good enough to replicate the human experience.
Yeah, and I'm like, has anyone actually looked at the fingers? You know what I mean? Like the fingers of these AI generators, they look like hot dogs. Yeah. And they have like 12 fingers on one hand. So I think we're safe for a while, at least until they master hands.
It'll get better,
it will.
But
still.
I
feel the same way. I think there's tools where it makes sense to utilize them, like especially from like a calendar standpoint, or like maybe your email or organization for like templates of spreadsheets and that sort of thing. We haven't adopted it for anything creative yet.
Yeah.
At this point.
I mean, like you said, like for outlining and doing things like that, maybe stuff
note
like
taking,
that.
that's really helpful for meetings.
Or even just, I mean, thinking about AI, like, I don't know if you're using Adobe Premiere, it's like, oh my God, it can transcribe now. Like when they added that a couple years ago.
I went to Mountain Film Festival last year in 2023, and I went to an AI panel where they had Sophia, the humanoid robot, and the whole panel was about AI and how all the different jobs it's going to take. They never once talked about creative, so that made me feel pretty good. But it's crazy. I think there's definitely things where it makes sense to adopt, like you were just saying, like, and even like the generative fill, like on Photoshop. I played with that a little bit to see like how well does it do. Sometimes not great. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does okay. But for everything we're doing so far,
for the most part, anything that I've played with it, and like this, it's almost a waste of time to really try and do anything. Even like there's like an AI can fix blurry photos, and I had like a blurry photo I tried to fix, and I was like, it doesn't fix blurry photos.
It's blurry.
It actually looks terrible.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not saving me any time. I'm spending more time trying to learn all the prompts. I'm like, it's faster for me to just do it.
Yeah. Yes. I think I was originally kind of in the car of like, oh crap, it is going to take my job. And then I had a friend explain it to me in a way where it's like, you don't look at it as something that's necessarily going to take anything away from you, because at the end of the day, it's still a tool, and you need to know how to use this tool. So like a good example is like, for example, like when Photoshop came around, I feel like a lot of graphic designers, when that came around, were like, oh, here we go. Our jobs are over and stuff. But like, when you evolved and adapted to use that, it just enhanced the things you could make. And I've been trying to use more and more within like Premiere and Adobe products. And like, it can be useful for some things. For example, like graphic designing, anytime we're making a poster, a lot of the times I'm using that generative fill to like say, extend the background, right? So you take a still from your movie and it's a forest and you want to make the trees go higher. It does pretty good with that. So like little things like that can quicken up, the motions and whatnot. And the one thing I am actually very eager to try with it, I think, who told me about this? A friend of mine who was at NAB, the production expo in Vegas, I believe. Yep. So they revealed the generative fill for Premiere, which is like you're able to like basically do things that you have to go into After Effects and do in Premiere. So you can cut out and generative fill the background. I'm like, that's honestly could be a game changer.
Yeah, anything. It's time saving. To me, that's the biggest thing. For someone who, I wish I still had. I don't shoot and edit as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I miss it, but I have other things that I'm responsible for now. And I never really learned After Effects, and so anytime I needed After Effects stuff done, I was like, oh, he's got to have somebody else do that kind of thing. But for that, if you can just within Premiere like fix little things like that, it's again just huge. And Adobe doesn't care because it's all the same platform.
Right.
You're still using their software, so why not make it more easy to use within one one thing as opposed to having to learn multiple.
Yeah.
Shedding off those microseconds, especially in post-production, makes such a world of difference.
Yeah.
If you can take off as much like little bits of time as you can, that just increases your turnaround and increases your output. Like, it is very helpful to know how to use these things and kind of like be in the know of how they're working. So I don't think it's necessarily anything to be threatened of. Like, if anything, I think it should be exciting to see how you can utilize it and create from there. So.
Yeah, we don't use VHS or Milkman anymore either. So or taxis for that matter. So
that's true. It's true. You have to stay with the times for sure.
VHSs are pretty dope though.
Yeah, they are.
I still have.
We still love them.
Yeah, got to.
Our dog ate our cord for ours, which is really upsetting.
Real sad. That's
Thanks,
okay.
Daisy.
You can find a VCR on eBay for $50 probably.
Yeah, I'm like maybe 200. I don't know.
We can find one of those 350-pound, 22-inch TVs that you'd have to haul and move to the room like that.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on the podcast today. It was a lot of fun, and thank you everybody that's listening. Hope you were entertained by our rambling conversation. You never know what we're going to talk about.
That's why we're something from nothing. You never know.
Football to AI to filmmaking or whatever else.
All the things.
Yeah. So thanks everybody very much for listening, and hope you come back next week.